I would like to start by welcoming you to the first of two webinars hosted by Knowledge Hub, introducing you to the LEGO Education Spike Prime set. Now we're running these two webinars to help you prepare for a competition Knowledge Hub are running to get you ready to program and build really cool robots. So why LEGO Education Robotics? Well, quite simply, you're only limited by your imagination. You can build pretty much whatever you want, and you can design it, and you can build it, and you can program it. And my name is Widger, and I am a LEGO Education Certified Trainer, and my job over the next two webinars is to prepare you to compete. Let's get going. So the first thing you need to do once you get your kit is unpack it. Now, inside this box is where all the magic happens. Take the lid off and put that down on the floor. And you've got what we call an inset card to help you. And this inset card very simply gives you some instructions on where to start. But more importantly, on the back is a whole series of where you put your elements. And we'll focus in on that in a little bit. Now, when you unpack, you'll have empty trays. Don't worry, you will fill them up soon. And when I take those empty trays out, you'll find that you've got a box of Lego in bags. Now, the cool thing that Lego have done over the last couple of years is that the bags go in specific compartments. And using that insert card will help you do that. And basically, all the small pieces go in the trays and all the big pieces go in the bottom of the box. So, pause the video, pause the webinar, and let's get sorting. So while we're setting up our Lego box, getting the pieces ready, sorting out the trays, what's really important is we download the software from the LEGO Education website. And the website you will see appearing on your screen now. This is important so that once we've sorted our trays out and our Lego pieces, we can actually start looking at the software, which is a Scratch-based software, which a lot of students have already had experience of. So hopefully it won't be a big surprise to you what the software will look like. So if you've used Scratch in the past, and something like 30 million students have used Scratch across the world, then you're off to a good start. So download the software, and while that software is downloading and then installing, we can get our Lego bricks into their compartments, ready to start building. So as you sort your pieces out, you will find on your insert card the guide on where to put all the pieces and some sticky labels to label your compartments like I've got here, and I'll just tilt that up for you to have a quick look. Now, very simply, what we have to do when we are sorting boxes out and sorting the trays out is to find the bag that corresponds with the sticky label. So you find the bag, I've got that bag there, and you simply empty that bag into the compartment. And once you've done that, you'll find you have a really nice sorted out Lego box ready to start building. So your Lego set is ready, and you are ready to start building, start designing, be introduced to the software. I do want to start by just giving a quick overview of the Lego set. Let's start with the bricks, because this is a big change for me. The Lego set, or the Lego Prime set that you've got, extremely colourful. So I think you're going to have some really great eye-catching designs, eye-catching robots that you're going to create. Now, they have introduced, or they have redesigned some of the pieces that's going to hopefully make building a lot more easy and efficient. Firstly, the wheel, that's been changed. It used to be very soft tires. Now it's a hard tire. The reason for that, well, there are two reasons. First of all, it will last a long time and it'll stay in shape. But secondly, having a hard tire will make your robots drive much more accurately. So you should see your robots doing what the program is telling it to do. And that's going to be a big change. For me, in the olden days, the wires were always a big issue. and we used to have wires all over the place. And what Lego have added to the set now, really, really brilliant invention. Very small, you almost don't notice it, but these are cable tidies, and they will hold your cables in place, keep them out the way of the working motors when the robots are driving around. So that's a really great piece as well. They've added building plates and frames, and means that you're going to be able to build bigger models more quickly. And that is a really big positive move there. So you're going to find that you'll be able to build models very, very quickly. And then a couple of pieces as well that you might not notice straight away. They've added a standard Lego brick, a 2x4 brick, but they actually have added axle holes, so cross head holes, for you to be able to build strong structures and put axle pieces in there as well. And this little Lego piece, which has been renamed, or people call it the biscuit, which actually allows you to build in two directions and change your model building across two planes very, very, very simply. So they've added some nice new pieces that are very colourful, and you're going to be able to build some really cool models going forward. So moving on to the electrical components that you find in your Lego Education Prime Spike Prime box, the most important one is the hub. And the hub is there for us to program, turn on motors, react to sensors, and we build our model around it. Okay, so this is called our hub, okay, and it's referred to the hub in all of the support material. A couple of things about it that I want to talk about really quickly before we get started. It has 6 ports, so you can have up to 6 motors and sensors connected to it at any one time. It does have a built-in gyro, so it does know where it's positioned. Okay, it does know how fast it's moving as well. So it does have a built-in gyro. It has a screen, a 5x5 light screen, so you can create some fun emojis, and you can actually do messages as well, although it only displays one letter at a time. It has a connection point for USB, and it also has a Bluetooth button as well. A quick thing about that, I generally, and this is just my personal opinion, I generally use USB because when you connect it, it's ready, and it also charges the hub while you are working. So I generally stick to USB. The only times I generally use Bluetooth myself is if I'm on an iPad, or if I'm sending my robot out and I want to send it out and control it live. So you do have 2 options of connection, USB and Bluetooth. It does come with a rechargeable battery, which you will plug in and start using in a little bit as well. So all in all, a really very simple hub with lots and lots of power. It can store as well 20 programs, which is the other really good thing as well. It has 2 buttons to navigate, but you can also use those as almost like sensors. Okay, you can use them as touch sensors as well. So really nice bit of kit here, the hub. We have 3 motors in the kit. We have 2 medium motors. Generally, they are used for driving things around or driving your robot around, and they have built-in rotation sensors, so they know where they are. If you tell it to do 1 rotation of the wheel, it will do 1 rotation of the wheel. So it does have 2 of these medium motors, and it also has a large motor as well, and generally what people use for that is picking up objects or a gripper or things like that. So you will find in your set 3 motors, and then you've got 3 sensors as well, and I'm just going to find them there very, very quickly. The first one we have is the ultrasonic sensor. Okay, that ultrasonic sensor there, and it can detect distances. It has lights that light up as well, and it can be taken apart, and you can build your own sensors as well, but that's not for these webinars, but that's something you can do. So the ultrasonic sensor. We also have a color sensor. So this color sensor will measure Lego colors, but it will also measure ambient light and reflective light as well. So it will follow lines on a table, for example. And then we have a new touch sensor that's been added since the other robotic systems. And this touch sensor, the one big improvement that I'm really excited about is it actually measures in newtons as well as being a touch sensor. So pressure, you can write programs that incorporate pressure into those programs. So you do have a wide variety of electrical components that go in the bottom of the box, and they come out when you're ready to use them. So let's get going. You start using the software that you've installed, and we're going to start programming our hub to do things. So let's get started. Now, when you've installed the software, you'll find it at the bottom of the toolbar, here in my toolbar at the bottom, and it's a yellow and white icon, and when you hover over it, it will say Spike. So I click on that and it will load up Spike Prime software. Give it a few seconds and then that loads up. And you are greeted with what we call our home screen. And I just want to really quickly run through how the home screen works so that you know what to do and how to navigate around it. So at the top here, we do have a menu bar. And you can click on that anytime, and it basically refers to sections of the home screen. So let me just take you through how it all works. I am scrolling up and down. It is a scrollable home screen, but at the top here we have the getting started activities. So there are 3 built-in getting started activities. We are going to do a couple of them today, and we will try those in a little bit. So if I click on the start button, I will get my getting started activities. There are 3 of them there for you to try out. Good starting place. We will do a couple of them, as I said earlier. We will try those in a moment. But we're going to go back to the home screen so I can quickly tell you about the rest of the material. Now, you'll see there in the middle there, you'll see a bar that's called recent projects, and that's what it says. It's where all your programs that you've been working on are kept, and my latest ones are all here. And there is also a show all button. When I click on show all the programs that I've written. Okay, so all my projects are there and they're kept in a folder on my computer. Also though, in this bar is the new project window. So if I just want to start with a blank canvas and start programming without any guidance, that's the button I click on first. I will click on it just so that you can see the programming canvas, which is this big area here, and all the programming icons on the left hand side. Now those are quite overwhelming at first, which is why we are going to start with the getting started, and we're going to start with those first. And you'll see what I mean when you see it. So we'll go back to the home screen. Okay, and just to scroll down a little bit, we have something called unit plans. And if I click on unit plans, what you see here are 4 topics, 4 activity banks that you can work on. We are going to be looking at later on over our next 2 webinars at the Invention Squad, because it introduces the design engineering concept, and you'll need that when you work on the competition. So there are some very good activity banks built into the software, and occasionally you do have to download updates from the web. It updates when you click on it, and then they're there ready for you to use. So the unit plans are there. The unit plans are there to basically teach you the software as well as the design engineering process. So if I go back to the home screen, the other thing I've got are building instructions. So all the building instructions that are installed within all my plans and activities, they're all in one place as a reference. And you can see that I'm scrolling down and looking at all of the building activities. Now, this is good because if I want to build a driving base, I can go and find some driving models, and you can see those there. If I want to build a gripper, I can scroll and I can find the gripping activities. There's a gripper or a grabber there on the right hand side. So the build guides are great because you can get to different builds very, very quickly. So that really is the home screen that allows you to access content, access build guides, access your programs, and what we're going to start with now, accessing the getting started activities. Okay, so let's start with our first hands-on activity, which is one of the getting started activities that you find within the software. So if I move my mouse and click over on the start button, you'll see that I've got the 3 getting started activities. Number 1 is just using the Spike Prime Hub. Number 2, you'll get an introduction to the motors and sensors. And then number 3, you will actually have a go at building a robot that moves around. But we're going to start with number 1 first of all, so you can get a feel for how the getting started activities work and how the software works. So I'm going to click on activity number 1. It actually tells you to start here. And a couple of things to point out. First of all, in the top left-hand side, you'll see the word connect. There's a little visual image of the hub, and there's a red dot signifying that it's not connected. If it is connected, that won't be red, it'll be green. So that is one thing just to remember. And on the right-hand side, you will see what we call our book. Okay, our activity book there that guides you step by step in how to use the software. The middle section is our canvas where we write our programs, and on the left hand side you will see the and they're missing at the moment, the programming block area. Okay, now obviously because it's a starting activity, we don't want all those programming blocks, because actually what happens is we end up clicking on things that we're not, or we haven't used yet and we haven't learnt about, and that can cause problems when you write your programs. So in the early stages, the getting started activities are the way forward. So let's stick with those. Click on the next button. Okay, so I've got my hub, I've picked it up. We click next. I have already put the battery in, but it tells you how to put the battery in as well. As I say, it's step by step, and it even highlights for you and flashes for you to click next as well. So if I click next, it says we're now going to click to connect the hub. Now we can do that 2 ways. We can do it Bluetooth or by USB. For me, all I'm simply going to do is pick up my USB cable. There is only one place that you can connect it to, and I'm simply going to connect it into my hub like so. So I'm just going to connect that. Okay, and it's getting power from my computer. It's giving me a little sound to say I'm working, and look what's happened. First of all, the hub in the corner there has now got a green dot, which means it's connected. Now, before I start my program, if I click on the little hub button there, it's our little dashboard. It actually gives me a couple of important things. First of all, it's telling me the battery's still charging, so it will just keep charging until it's ready. So at the moment it's at 20%. The other thing I want to show you, and if I move across, I can manage programs. Now at the moment I'm only using slot 0, but there are up to 20 slots that I can put my programs into. And if I go back to the dashboard, it'll also tell me when I connect things as well, but I haven't got anything connected. What you will notice though, is that if I move this around, there's lots of figures here, and where my mouse is here, that's the inbuilt gyro sensor. So you'll see I'm getting lots of feedback. Now, if I try and hold it really still, you'll see those numbers will stabilize. So that's just what that little button is there. For me, it's really important to click on that. It tells me the battery level, which is important for me. I can also do things like rename my hub as well. So click on the cross to exit that, and now we're going to start our first program. Now notice on the left hand side there are only 3 programming blocks. When I showed you a new program earlier, there were lots. What's nice about the getting started, it only gives you the programming blocks that you will need. Okay, and that's really important to point out. So what it's telling me is it's saying, drag the start button, start block, up to my programming canvas. Okay, so it says there, when the program starts, carry out these two activities. And again, what we're going to do is drag this across, and we're going to turn on and have a smiley face. And then we're going to play a beep for 0.2 of a second. Okay, now when we're ready, you can see it's now highlighted at the bottom of the screen there, the play button. So if I click on play, it's now played me a little noise, and what I will have here is a little emoji person on my screen. So I've written my first program. It's as simple as that. We drag blocks from our programming icons, drop them onto the canvas. When we're happy with that program that we've created, we click on the play button and the program will be played. And it will be stored in program slot 0. And I can actually choose which programming slot I would like to assign my program to simply by clicking on the icon down there where to store my program. That is a really simple activity to get you started and to show it you works. You've got time now if you want to. It'll set you a little challenge. Let's see if you can now design your own emoji that when you press play and download, you end up getting a new emoji appear on the screen. I love this. It's a fantastic way of communicating with the Spike Prime Hub. Have a go. You've done your first activity. Let's move on to activity number 2, where we get introduced to the sensors and the motors. So we click on the start button. There we go. We've done this first one. Now we're going to have a go at doing the second one. So we click on motors and sensors. And in our little workbook here, we're being told we're going to learn how to use them. So we click on continue. And guess what? You're going to do some building. Now, what I love about this activity is the building only takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So when you start this section, pause me and then press play once you've built all your models. I will give you some tips though about building and following build instructions so that it makes it easier for you. So when we click on the build, we get told to connect up our hub with our battery box. We've done this already. And we click on the right hand arrow. Yes, we're ready. We've got our hub and we're going to use one of the medium motors. So this is how it all works. The top picture here in white with a box round, that is what the finished model build in this section of the build guide will look like. Okay, so this is what we're going to end up with. And if I pick it up off the table here and pick it up so you can see, this is what we're going to end up with, the finished article. The box underneath in grey are the Lego pieces you're going to get out of the box to start this build. So only 2 pieces. What I love about Lego builds is that you're not getting lots and lots of pieces out of the box. And then you connect that purple clip to the wire. And then we move on to the second part of the build. Again, the grey box at the top there is what you're going to get out of the box. You're going to get 2 grey pieces, connector pads, double connector pads, and connect those to the medium motor. And you scroll all the way through. Now, sometimes there will be subsections in your build because we're going to add an eye to our motor. And again, you will get a white box that signifies what it's going to look like when you've finished, and those pieces that you need out of the box to complete this section of the build. And as you scroll through, it says connect the eye up to the motor. Then we move on to our next challenge, and this is using the large motor. Again, white box, what it's going to look like at the end, grey box, the pieces you need now. And you go through and you make up all of your builds you've been asked to do. little thing here, this little symbol here that I'm just hovering over, that means you're going to turn the brick around. And if I go back here, you can see the brick is upside down here with 2 Lego pegs underneath. And the first thing you need to do is turn the brick the opposite way round, and you can see now the pegs are underneath. And as I scroll through, I finish this build, and now I move on to the sensors. Okay, so here we're going to build the ultrasonic sensor. And again, we'll build our models. Okay, what I want you to do now is to pause the video, and I want you to finish building all of the models until you get to the section here where it says finish with 2 bricks, yellow and purple, mauve. Click on the done button here, and it will then show you the whole range of motors and sensors that you've just built on the right hand side here. So that's absolutely fantastic what you've built. You just see that I've hidden my workbook by clicking on the 2 lines there, and I can open that workbook up again. So I've got my 6 motors and sensors and my hub ready to do some programming. So I click on continue, and you can see it tells me on the right hand side which sensors or motors I'm going to be using and which connection port to put or connect the wire to in the hub. So I'm going to pick up my hub now. Okay, so here's my hub. Now, one of the things I do really want to talk about with you now is the letters on the front of the hub, and they are a little bit sometimes difficult to read, especially when you're my age. It's much harder to read those letters. You need good light, or you need to angle it slightly so you can see which connections you want to or you need to connect to. But basically it's A, B, C, D, E, F, and that's how it works. And C is the middle connection that you're going to connect your large motor to. So have a go at doing that now. I'm going to just connect my hub up as well. Remember, if your hub's not connected, you won't see a green tick, a green dot at the top of the screen there. I've got my green tick now. And now I'm just going to connect my motor to my hub. Now look what's happened, and I'm going to unplug again so you can see. Now at the top here where my mouse is, if I unplug, my motor disappears. When you plug a sensor or a motor into your hub, it will appear up here, and you can see at the moment it's telling me I've got my motor, and that's a symbol from motor, connected to port C. So I now play the program. Hit the play button, and you can hear it, and if I hold it up for you to see, if I press play again, my hub is moving at speed 75 for 5 rotations of the axle. And I can change the power just to see what happens. Okay, we change it to 25% power. What you should see when I click on the yellow play button is it's going much, much slower. In fact, if it goes slower like this, I can count the 5 rotations as well with when the motor's actually running. So have a go at doing that. So pause the webinar, have a go at doing that, and we'll move on to the next section. So now we're going to introduce a sensor. So I'm going to find my force sensor here. So I'm going to just pick it up and show it to you. So here is my force sensor, and I can press that button there, and it tells me to connect to port number or port letter B. So when I connect it to port letter B, what you should see, there we go. What you should see, and I'm just going to move my mouse up to you, is connected to B, where my mouse is hovering, is my force sensor. Now, at the moment it says 0 newtons, and that's because I've not pressed anything. But if I now hold this up for you, press, I'm getting 4 newtons of pressure through my press that I'm doing. Okay, now if I press the play button now, my program is running, and I'm going to hold these up for you to see. So I'm going to hold up my motor, and I'm going to hold up my sensor. When I press the sensor, it's now controlling the motor. Let go, and it stopped. Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. So moving on, have a go at using the force sensor, and then we'll move on to the next activities. So you've had a go at the force sensor, and what I do want to do, so that it's not me constantly talking, I want you to explore the rest. So what you'll see is it'll tell you which ones to connect to, okay, and which sensor to connect to which port, which motor to connect to which port. And I want you to work through these activities on the right-hand side. Have a go and see how you get on. Explored this getting started activity, and you should have had a go at using the force sensor and the color sensor and the ultrasonic sensor and explored how they worked. Now, just to go back a step, just to explain these programs in some more detail. And this is something I really like about the new Lego software, is that you get to explore and you get to play with existing software that someone's written, an existing program that somebody's written. And that's how I learned to code. I took people's programs, I looked at them, I looked at the model running, and I made that link on understanding what the program was running and how the robot was reacting, okay? And that's how I learned how to program. And it's great that Lego have done this. So here we've got some programs. So you saw me press the button on my force sensor and the motor started running. And if you look down here, when I'm not pressing the button, when the button is released, the motors stop. Okay, so these yellow icons are what we call events. So the program starts running. If I'm pressing the button, the motors will drive. If I'm not pressing the button, the motors will stop. Now in activity 1, we simply use the event called when program starts. Here, our program is waiting for us to click on a sensor, to click on an input. Now if we go through the different activities, again, here, when my ultrasonic is seeing something past 20 centimeters, start the motor running. When it's less than 20 centimeters or closer than 20 centimeters, stop. So it's an if-or statement going on up there. And again, with colors, it detects those two colors that you got out of the box, so the yellow one and the mauve one or the purple one. And it detects whether to run one motor or the other, depending on the color. This is great for line following, by the way, so when you're actually designing a line following robot. So those are the programs and how they work when you use sensors. Now, where I want to finish off with on the programming for today is to look at the final activity called Make It Move, Build a Hopper. Now, for this activity, it's a fairly simple build, so it's a 10-15 minute build for you to do, and you're going to have a go at making that robot on the right-hand side. Now, very simple. Have a go at quickly building it. So click on the build icon, the build button, and build, and then have a look at the program. Because again, part of the competition, and I will talk about the competition towards the end of this webinar, you're going to need to use the movement blocks. So you've used motor blocks controlling one motor, but when we build a buggy or a hopper or some sort of vehicle, generally we use two wheels, and those two wheels have to be controlled. So instead of it being called a motor block, it's called a movement block, because we are controlling two motors. Now, if we look at this program here, and I'm just hovering it with my mouse, when the program starts, it's the first thing I need to do is tell my hub where the motors are connected that we're going to be driving, because we could have up to 4 motors connected if we wanted to. So the movement for our motors is the motors that are connected to ports E and F. So if you have your 2 medium motors connected to these 2 ports, they are going to be the ones that drive. We set a movement speed, and then we tell the robot to move forwards for 2 seconds. And that robot will then carry out the task of driving both motors. When you have a go at that, you should see that in action. Good luck with that one. See if you can get your hopper to hop along your table. It's one of my favorite activities. And what I really like about this one is, can you design your own? If you do, photograph it, send it to us. Let's have a look. Fantastic, have fun. Pause the webinar. So you've had a go at doing 3 of the getting started activities, and you've heard me talk about the Lego bricks and the Lego software. In the next webinar, we'll deep dive more into the Lego software basics, the program basics, for you to have a better understanding of those. What I wanted to talk about now, very briefly, is the competition you have entered and how it works, and also the things you can do outside of this webinar to prepare you for that competition. So the competition is about you building and programming Lego robots, with some presentation in there as well. There will be 4 tasks. 2 build and program tasks you'll know about and you'll have a go at doing. You'll be given a design brief, a design criteria that you have to try and meet. Okay? Then you will present one of those to us. So you will send in your ideas, your thought processes, your buildings, your build guides, your videos, everything that will tell us how you worked on the project. The 4th activity is a surprise. So on the day of the competition, we will announce a challenge for you to do, and you will go away and spend an amount of time trying to fulfill the design criteria for that challenge. It's fairly simple. 4 activities worth a total of 100 points, and depending on how you do is how many points you get. So how can we help you more with this? Well, there will be a second webinar on some more programming tips. Also, I'll give you building tips as well. But also there is a Lego unit within the software that will help you understand the design process. Okay, and that's what I want to talk about now, is that unit and how it will help you when it comes to designing and programming your solutions. So in the software, there are 4 packs or 4 units that help us learn about the hardware and the software. And one of them is specifically designed to teach us about the design process, something that engineers, creators, designers, inventors use when they're coming up with their new ideas, And that can be found if we scroll down on the home page to the unit plans, and we click on the unit plans, and there are 4 of them. Okay, all of them are really valuable for you as a tool to learn how to build and how to create efficient programs. But for us today, I want to show you the Invention Squad. The Invention Squad is all about the design process, and what it does, it has a series of activities created around the 4 areas of the design process. So the first one is about defining a problem. Once you've defined that problem, we need to create solutions or create prototypes. We then need to test those prototypes to see how good they really are. And then we need to evaluate our design, and we need to iterate to the world about it. So if we just click on one at the moment, let's have a look at Super Cleanup and click on that. Okay, you always get a video with these unit plans, these units. So you will have a unit video here, and then you will have to build some models. Okay, for this one, this is all about a designer building 2 grabbers, different designs, and then we need to test which one works best for the challenge that we've got to do. So you can see on the right hand side here, there are my 2 unit grabbers, and then we have a variety of items that we test how effective they really are. And that's what these units are all about. You get ready-made programs to help you test, and you learn about the process. And if I go back to the home page and go back down to unit plans, there are 5 activities to help you learn about the process. You're going to need the process for your activities when you actually run them in the competition. So it is very important to have a look at this and to understand that process, defining a problem, creating a prototype, testing that prototype, evaluating and iterating it. 4-step process. Good luck. Thank you for attending this webinar today. We hope that you got enough out of this to get started. Unpacking the box, putting your pieces away, connecting your hub, building your first couple of models, writing your first programs, knowing where to find material to help you in the competition. We hope you've got enough to get started for you to be able to compete in the Knowledge Hub competition. In our next webinar, we're going to focus much more on the programming. So I will go through the programming blocks with you in more detail and also give you some tips for building and designing. Have fun, get building.